Well, Power in Politics is all new at 5:30 tonight. More reaction coming in after our community discussion on Albany youth violence earlier this week. Now, Albany Police Chief Brendan Cox sitting down with Tom Eschen to offer his perspective. Tom joins us live from our Studio B this evening. Hi, Tom.
Good evening, Larry. This all coming after 10 people were shot, one now dead, the night of July 4th in the city of Albany. Much of that violence involving the youth of the city. And as you recall, as you mentioned there on Monday, we sat down with some community leaders for a discussion. Interim Police Chief in Albany, Brendan Cox, says he watched that discussion and adds to that discussion now, saying there needs to be better coordination between themselves, the city, and those community organizations too. But he also wanted to note and add that the majority of the interactions they have with the youth are positive ones. It's getting those other ends of the spectrum, those other youth, and engaging with them more. We'll pick up the conversation there. One of those pieces is that mandating an individual to take part in these programs and holding them accountable if they don't?
Yeah, there comes a point in time where that absolutely has to happen. And I think people need to realize that the research never showed when it came to juvenile justice reform that there was never a time to mandate somebody to a program. The research showed, and we were practicing this a long time ago, that there's a time when you come across a juvenile where everybody agrees that you don't do anything more than turn the kid back over to a parent. And the research also showed that there was a time when the juvenile and the parent and everybody else needed to be mandated to something. So there was, this belief that raise the age meant like hands off everybody and don't do anything, that's nonsense. That's not what raise the age was about. Raise the age was about recognizing that when we're dealing with especially 16 and 17-year-olds, although raise the age was about kids younger than 16 and 17-year-olds, but it was very much about 16 and 17-year-olds. It was about recognizing that 16 and 17-year-olds shouldn't be put in the same population as those 18 and older.
Right.
But it was never about saying, hey, there's no punitive or mandated options anymore. Like, though sometimes you have to mandate people. It is also about recognizing that there are times that we come across people where, of course, there's options there where it might be, well, we do nothing, or there's options where we're saying, hey, there is a program here and we're giving you the option to take it. But of course there's times when we have to mandate people to do things. Of course we do. I was mandated to go to summer school when I was a kid. I was mandated by my mother, not by the system, but sometimes that happens.
So the raise the age, can you explain the beyond 16 and 17, the intention?
Well, the intention
below that, because I guess I asked that under the understanding that the kids that were charged in July 4th, they were 15 years old. So how would raise the age apply to them if that's meant for 16 and 17-year-olds?
Well, for 16 and 17-year-olds, it was meant to not have those 16 and 17-year-olds be charged like they were adults. Because prior to raise the age, 16 and 17-year-olds were being charged exactly as adults.
Right.
But when we talk about kids under 16, we used to charge somebody as young as 8 years old as a juvenile delinquent. That's no longer there anymore. We also now, with raise the age, look at especially kids 10, 11, and 12 in a little bit different of a light. So there have been some different challenges there. And when we talk about juvenile offenders now versus youthful offenders, there are a little bit different nuances within the law. So when it comes to how we charge kids that are under 16, there are different nuances in the law. And I think what we need to make sure that family court, and again, I say this all with all due respect to everybody, and I'm not looking to point fingers, but as we've changed the law, I think we also need to make sure we have judges and the systems understand that if we have not built the appropriate response within family court that used to sit over in criminal court when we charged youth as juvenile offenders, that now if they're youthful offenders, that we need to be able to have that account. And if that means we mandate them, that we mandate them, that we understand that that option is still there.
But when it comes to that portion of it, if it's a violent felony, like raise the age doesn't really matter, like it doesn't really apply, right?
Well, in that case, no, it shouldn't. In that case, we should be able to move forward.
That those tools are available to the courts, to the DA, to the justice system, to be if it's a violent offense.
If it's a violent offense, unless the court steps in and says this is going to go back to family court and the DA no longer has jurisdiction over it.
So yes, so that's where.
So that's one of the legislative fixes that we need to look at. If the district attorney's office is not going to have any kind of jurisdiction and this is automatically going to be sent to family court, that's one of the things that I think we need to look at.
Well, why would a violent offense be sent to family court?
Because of with the legislation, there's an option for it to be sent to family court. And that option, there's a lot of, I think what we've learned over time is that we're not necessarily having, I think the process of how that's happening could be improved upon.
Because you talk about the legislative fixes. I've spoken to a lot of people, at all these different levels, and I think I think you talk about finger pointing. I'm not saying that anyone's directly finger pointing, but everyone is saying they are hamstrung by this system.
And I think that the process of how, when somebody is charged with a violent offense and they can be charged as an adult in that age group, I think the process of how the case can either stay with the district attorney or go to family court, that is one of the things that we need to look at and we need to try to fix. I'm not saying every case needs to stay with the district attorney. I think there are times when a case is appropriate to go back to family court. But I think we're seeing far too often cases automatically be sent back to family court, that unless family court is going to step up and have the resources necessary, which I think right now they don't, at least locally they do not, we need to look to keep a lot of those cases up in county court with the district attorney's office.
Now, he did reiterate that violence is down by 50% in the city, but also that more needs to be done to address the perception of violence in the city of Albany. We also got into their staffing shortages, down 70 officers, and how that impacts their ability to reach youth in the city as well, when recruiting plays a factor in that too. The full conversation's available as a podcast first thing tomorrow morning and on our YouTube page later on tomorrow afternoon. But for now, let's go back to you, Lara.